Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Away Say on Gallagher Shots and on the Always Smiling Faces podcast. Coming off the back of the Southampton game where we were once again class, meaning we're now safe mathematically from relegation, and hopefully it means we can put our feet up now against our next opponents in Brighton. And Brighton being a team that really can't put the feet up because they're right down at the bottom, scrapping away for a relegation fight. And one of those fans who will be no doubt biting the nails for the rest of the season is Eddie from the Albion Roar. Thanks for coming on, Eddie.
Hi, Andy. How you doing? All right?
Yeah, really well, thank you, mate. Thanks for coming on. So as I've said there, we're staying up. You guys, it's not confirmed yet. I think this was a game in the calendar where a lot of Newcastle fans were looking at this thinking this is going to be a huge game in the relegation fight with us both potentially being in the scrap. Thankfully for us now, it's not a massive game, but from your point of view, it must be huge, this one.
Oh, it's absolutely massive for us now. I mean, we've been kind of sleepwalking our way to relegation for the last, I don't know, we haven't scored a goal for 7 games. So that tells you how bad it is. I mean, that's 49 days. It's going to be on Saturday. I did some research into this. 49 days. You can sail around the world in 49 days. It's like, apparently in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it takes anything from half a second to 49 days to be reborn. Apparently, this is this.
So this is
I got loads of these. Yeah, no. I mean, we lost last night at Spurs after it was a very resilient rearguard action. We didn't really offer an awful lot going forwards. It was very much a case of stay in the game, and try and nick something. And it very, very nearly worked for us. At 87th minute winner from Christian Eriksen pierced the back line finally after Duncan Duffy and Matty Ryan were just throwing themselves in front of everything. So it's a little bit, so we're frustrating. That would have been another point to the total, but I mean, back in December, we were looking safe. We were looking forward to next season. We were starting to build towards next season, and then we can almost pinpoint it right back down to us being 2-0 up at West Ham, and we just sacrificed a 2-0 lead, and we still came away with a point, but our defence from that moment onwards became a lot more porous than it actually should have been. And then again, being 2-0 up at Fulham, who everyone was beating, and then to actually lose 4-2, sorry.
That would have been impressive to lose 4-0 from 2-0 up.
Yeah, that would have been great. But it was, so I mean, it's been incredibly frustrating. We haven't been able to quite put our finger on it. There's been some indifferent performances from a lot of the players. I mean, you could argue that the cup run maybe took our eyes off the ball a little bit, and everyone was really, really excited to go to Wembley, even though the semi-final shouldn't actually be there. But it was we took 37,000 people to Wembley, so I mean it was a good day out, and it was a performance actually not dissimilar to that we put up at Spurs last night.
Yeah, those obviously the cup runs, they've been an excuse that Mike Ashley and the board have used for a while in terms of they say that those cup runs will sacrifice your league position, and that's the reason they give for not wanting to try in the cups. But I think when you look at a relegation fight, those ones where you capitulate or right at the dying minute you concede a goal, they're the ones that really worry you, because you get the sniff of hope and then it all just goes wrong. And that was both the times we've gone down under Ashley. I felt like that's how it's always been. I mean, going back a bit further, you look at the championship season, and we obviously both had a cracking season, and we had that great title race that went all the way to the end. I actually think, squad-wise, we were probably both quite similar. I think you guys had a bit more experience, but we probably had that extra bit of quality that we had from coming down from the Premier League. One thing that has been a common complaint with Newcastle is that even though we've added a few fresh faces, there are times this season and last season where we put out 11 players and it's essentially just our championship team. And that's been to our detriment. Do you think that's been the case at Brighton, or has it just been that they haven't invested in the right places?
No, we have invested in the right places. I mean, we still haven't quite got the striker that we need. But everyone wants a striker, and we're having to look at different markets, because we know we're not going to be at the front of the queue for some of the other ones. So we've been looking at Holland, looking at Belgium, looking at France to see if we can actually get something from there. And it's been kind of hit and miss with that. We're seeing potential, but we're not actually seeing what we're actually needing to be seeing at the moment. I mean, Ali Reza Jahanbash was had the most assists and most goals in the Eredivisie last season, and he's just he came to us. He got injured early doors, and he was never able to hit the ground running. Same with Florian Andoni. He came to us, was injured, wasn't able to hit the ground running. Lacardia had a bit of an injury, couldn't quite get going. So it's like we'd quite like to sign some fit players. That would be good. But it's yeah. I mean, it's incredibly frustrating with some of them, because we can see that there's potential there, but we think there's question marks over tactics and the manager at the moment from a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's always difficult when you're buying from foreign leagues, because we've had that where we've had some that have been incredible, like Kabay, and then others like Florian Thauvin, who was absolutely horrendous for us, and then he went back to the French league and he was incredible again. And it's like, well, which way does it work? I mean, I was looking at the reverse fixture for this game, and it was another one like last week with Southampton. I couldn't for the life of me remember what actually happened, and we lost 1-0. It was probably a terrible game because, we're both not fantastic teams, but you did actually manage to score a goal in that game, which is obviously a collector's piece.
Brilliant goal as well. I mean, it was one of those really like top corner screamers. I know it wasn't. It came off someone's ass. It was
like our goal against you in the Championship when it just flicked off Diame's boot. Greatest goal I've ever seen.
Oh god, I'd forgotten about that.
Won us the league, that goal. It was incredible.
Yeah, no, what won us the league was David Stockdale letting one in at the last minute. But,
well, I wasn't going to mention it. I thought it might be a bit too raw, but there you go. You brought it up.
Well, to be fair, Stockdale won us more points than he lost that season.
Yeah, it was a cracking little run in. As I say, I think we just had the quality. I mean, because even though we don't have a net spend ever, we do always have the luxury of being able to sell good players and then buy new good players. So we did have that in the Premier League. Going back to the scoring goals point, has it been not having a striker, or are you just not creating anything? What's the problem?
It's been weird because we had a spell. Well, actually, bizarrely, the last goal we did score was actually goal of the month. So, and it's always nice to beat someone from that small town up the road. But it was. It has been an issue. I mean, there was games against Watford and games against Burnley where we just came up against goalkeepers having the game of their lives, and in fact, even Watford's own website was actually saying we're not having a man of the match award this week. We're having which part of Ben Foster do you want to give it to? His leg, his arm, his feet, his hands. It was one of those. We did everything but score. But since then, it's just one of those frustrating things. We've just forgotten how to win a game of football at the moment. There's been so much emphasis on losing our defensive solidity and trying to get that back and trying not to concede goals that we've actually forgotten to go up the end and actually to score goals. And, if you don't score goals, you're not going to win football matches.
Has Chris Hughton been questioned now then? Because obviously a lot of Newcastle fans loved him. I personally thought he got rid of a bit hastily at Newcastle. Is the question marks being thrown at him now, or is it kind of shared blame at the minute?
The responsibilities with the players, because they're going out with instructions. But yeah, I mean, there's. You don't go 7 games without scoring a goal without questions being asked of the manager. Chris has been absolutely fantastic for us. He's been arguably our most successful manager of all time, possibly. But just because that success doesn't necessarily buy you animosity from criticism. I mean, and there are criticisms there. I've got a few which worry me quite a lot. Other people aren't so worried about those, but they're worried about other things. And other people are saying, no, you can't criticise Chris Hughton. He's the Messiah, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, we get that a little bit with Benitez, where we obviously absolutely adore him because he's the greatest manager in a generation. He's an elite manager, and he is sometimes completely sort of shielded from criticism, even though he does make mistakes, especially with some late substitutions and things like that.
Yeah.
If you were Rafa Benitez going into this game, first of all, congratulations because he's amazing. But also, would you say, because normally away from home we shut up shop, we soak up pressure, try and break. Is it a bit of a waste of time trying to do that against Brighton, or would you try and take the fight
No,
to
that's exactly how
Brighton?
you. That's exactly how you beat us. That's what. I mean, Bournemouth came and did that. We tried to take the game to them a little bit, and they sat back and scored 5 goals in the counter attack when we had no answer to it, and we were absolutely woeful. And then Cardiff did exactly the same thing. We conceded 7 goals in exactly the same way, and it's the problem is. A lot of our players at the moment, they've got what I call supermarket trolley syndrome, and that's coming from the manager's instructions. Basically, the supermarket trolleys that if they go over the red lines, the wheels stop.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's our midfield. um, so basically, they go so far, and you look at you've got the wingers like breaking down into space and looking for someone to pass it to, and nobody's there because they've stopped.
yeah, that's always worrying in a season like this because I think when a team's struggling, no one wants to take the bull by the horns and get the ball and run with the ball, and I think that's always a worry when you've got your midfielders all just passing sideways to each other.
Well, we've got Anthony Knockout coming back from suspension on Saturday, so I mean that might give us a little bit because he stupidly got sent off. He was an idiot, frankly.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah.
This we always you'll watch the game through black and white strike the spectacles on me through blue and white strike ones, but I can't defend that one.
No, I don't think anyone could. I don't think he could even. I think he realised within a second of doing it.
So I mean, it was rash, it was hasty, and basically we're only 2-0 down when he did that, and we've come back from 2-0 down a few times this season to get something. So he let the side down, and he owes us massively. And we can. This is a game we have got to win on Saturday. Losing it, I can't see us getting another point. Possibly might be able to get something at Arsenal, but if with Man City at home in the last game of the season, Cardiff go to Fulham. They've got to go to Manchester United. I can't remember what their other game is, but if we'd have beaten Fulham on last Tuesday, that would have been 8 points clear. That would have been job done. Now we're 3 points. It's only 3 points, and we're worried. We're really worried.
The win seems to be with Cardiff a little bit in it, and I think I was thinking before we came on about whether the fact we're safe will actually make a difference in how we approach the game, whether it makes it better or worse. I actually personally don't think it will because Rafa just seems to take each game as it comes without looking at any of the context of what's going on. So I think, unfortunately, from your point of view, I think Rafa will still approach it the same. We'll still run about. We'll still try and win. But I think, as you say, you need a big performance from those big players.
We got a big performance last night. We got a very big performance.
You did look unlucky in that game.
There were, like I said, there wasn't an awful lot of attacking intent, but the plan was to let them have the ball and soak up the pressure and try and get some, like I said, try and get something on the break, try and get something from a set piece. We had a chance at the beginning of the second half with Shane Duffy where we really should have scored. Florian Andoni had a couple of opportunities in the first half. Glenn tried to be the first person to get the ball out of Spurs' new stadium. And it very nearly succeeded, actually. Well done, Glenn. And Berham Kayal had a chance late on, which he took too early. But if we'd have got a point last night, I think that people would have been a little bit breathing a little bit easier, perhaps.
Yeah, but when you look at it as well, because we had this when we play big teams, it's the same for us. Sometimes a 1-0 defeat, you're only -1 on your goal difference. That can make all the difference. It's an extra half a point at the end of the day. So you never know, that 1-0 and not going for it and getting rolled over might actually be a decent result for you.
Well, there is that, and our goal difference is by far superior to Cardiff. So I mean,
Yeah, you might be okay.
that's something else in our thing. But I mean, like we just sleepwalked away into this position. We were looking fine, and it's so annoying that we're here. I mean, actually, I mean, from your point of view, as far as we're concerned, at the turn of the turn of the year, come January, and we were looking okay. We were like 10, 12 points above the drop zone. And you signed Almiron, and he looked like a fantastic player. And I was as a player I was aware of before he came to you, and I thought he's looking like someone I'd like to have a look at. And now I'm absolutely delighted we're not going to get a look at him because he's been absolutely brilliant for you.
Yeah, he's completely changed the team. And you talk about turn of the year. I saw a league table from sort of when we've signed Almiron. From that point, we're 6th in the league or something like that. It's crazy the turnaround we've had, but clubs are just going in different directions. So if I'm thinking about the game, I'm going to ask you for a prediction in a sec. But when you look at Newcastle, where do you see the strengths from us? I mean, do you see yourselves getting anything out of this with our team at the minute?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I've got to keep confidence. I mean, after the defeat against Cardiff, the mood around the Amex was absolutely one of dejection, frustration, anger. We felt that was it. We felt we were done. We've had time to think about it. We're still, it's still in our own hands. We think that the players owe the Amex a decent performance. They owe them we owe them a victory. We feel like we're owed a victory from the players because they've let us down quite a lot recently. And I don't know how to put my finger on it, but I mean, we know what the game plan's going to be. We know what your game plan's going to be. I feel really, really sorry to anyone who's tuning into BT Sports at 5:30 on Friday.
I don't know why they keep picking our games. They're always awful.
It's it's going to be kind of. I suspect it's going to be very attritional. I think it'll be fascinating. I think there will be a tactical battle, but we know we have got to get 3 points out of this game if we want to make sure we're going to be safe. Are you going to be coming out onto the pitch wearing flip-flops? Well, we certainly hope so. In fact, a lot of the new football boots look like flip-flops, so that's a good thing. But there are players in that squad who we've yet to get a big performance out of, and come of the hour, come of the man, maybe. But we've got to create some of these chances, and one of them has got to go in.
Yeah, I think for me, if I'm looking at a prediction, it's really hard with something like this because, as I said earlier, I do think we'll still perform the same, even though we've got nothing to play for anymore, because I think Rafa that's the way he operates. If you guys show up, you can cause us problems. We're by no means a perfect team. We're still massively flawed, and we've got massive gaps in quality across the pitch, especially at right back. Sometimes in midfield, we get completely rolled over if your team takes the brakes off the trolleys, to keep your metaphor going. So it's one of those that could go either way. Everything's telling me, because we're going in different directions, we're playing really well. You guys aren't playing great. You've put in a couple of good performances, but you're just not getting the lay of the land at all. I see us sneaking this. I think we'll soak it up well enough, even though we're, missing Lejeune now. We've got good defensive cover. I think we'll do well to soak it up. If one of your big players does turn up, I think you'll be able to get at least a goal, but I think we've got a lot going the other way. So I think it's going to be a 1 or 2-0 win.
I've got 2 words to strike terror into your heart, my friend. Mike Dean.
Oh, it's not, is it?
Yes.
I take it all back. Oh God, that man. Well, it's live on TV, so no doubt he'll just lie low and just let the game speak for itself. Yeah, he's an interesting one, but I think both of. I mean,
actually, I think his reputation's a lot worse than his actual performance. I mean,
I actually think he's a good referee. He just loves the attention.
He's a pantomime dame, isn't he? It's like, and we all like root for the bad guy every now and then, but he's you're right. He does like to do everything with a little bit of flair, a little bit of flourish.
Yeah, he loves a good flamboyant penalty decision or an advantage signal, doesn't he? I'm looking forward. That's probably going to be the most exciting thing about the game, in fairness. I haven't got a prediction from yourself yet. Have you got a scoreline in mind?
Nope.
No idea.
We're not doing predictions anymore. Every time I've predicted something, it's gone horribly wrong. So my prediction is there is no prediction.
That'll do me. Well, to be fair to you, I'm always wrong.
On the fence. Oh man, I did it. I've been doing it on national radio.
Yeah, you end up just embarrassing yourself 90% of the time. I mean, I said the Southampton game was going to be closer, and we rolled over them. The lads on the podcast nailed it. I was terrible, but we'll see. I think probably about wraps it up. I think we've got a good gist of what's gone wrong at Brighton and how you're going to look to put it right. As I say, it's a massive game for you guys. If I had to choose between yourselves and Cardiff to stay up, I'd want Brighton to stay up. So
it's a much better.
Yeah, well, I wanted to go down this year, but it hasn't happened for whatever reason. So the huge game for you. I think if you don't win this one, it's going to be tricky. But if your guys turn up, I can see you getting the win. But personally, I think we'll turn up more, if that makes sense.
Actually, I mean, as an aside to what you just said there, I mean, it's something that frustrates us massively, and it's exactly the same for you for exactly the same reason, is the fact that with the TV companies moving fixtures left, right, and centre, they really don't think about the fans,
it's terrible.
For you being the furthest north and for us being the furthest south, it's like it can be an absolute ball ache to get anywhere and get home from anywhere. I mean, it's not so bad from London, but like 5:30 in Manchester, there's no way we can get home.
Yeah, it's the same for us. Monday night games against Arsenal, just constantly, and there's no thought whatsoever goes into it. And at the end of the day, our games are always terrible. I don't even see the need to do it. We seem to get unfairly picked on from Sky. I think we're one of the most picked teams for the TV coverage, and I don't really. I mean, they must get good viewership from it, but it's just one of those things. I think. I mean, I'm not going down on Saturday. I'd love to, but it's as I say, it's just not happened.
It's one of those things. I mean, since we've been in the Premier League, I mean, we get from us at the Albion Roar, we get requests to do stuff from all over the world, and the worldwide fan base is just massively grown and grown and grown because of the TV market worldwide. There's a Premier League being shown somewhere in the world, somewhere every day. It's just massive, and it's the same for you. And I'm guessing that the TV authorities, they see Newcastle, they see a massive fan base, they see a massive potential to maybe grow that worldwide audience as well. And I mean, the fact that our FA Cup semi-final against Man City at Wembley was a 5:30 kickoff, and no Man City fans could actually get back to Manchester after the game because of that. It makes a mockery, but it was perfect. That 5:30 kickoff time is perfect for the US market, and that's why there's some more later kickoffs, and it's going to get worse next year when they're having 7:45 kickoffs on a Saturday.
Well, they're looking at playing. Is it in La Liga where they're going to start playing games over in America and things, or they're going to? Because obviously they've got this thing with Tottenham and Wembley.
Never actually got off, but it's not.
It's the way it's going.
It's their 39th game, isn't it? It's just no, not for me.
No, well, unfortunately, that's the way it's going, and I think it'll be teams like ours that'll feel the effects of that the most, unfortunately, because we can just get sort of thrown to the side. But hey ho, we'll see how it all goes anyway. But one game at a time. I wish you all the best for Saturday. I do think it'll be a good game, but my personal prediction is, yeah, I know it's going to be terrible. I think you're right in that it's going to be boring. I think we'll sneak it. I think you're probably quite right to not give a prediction because it's one of those where it could go either way.
No, I'm getting piles sitting on the fence, and 49 days. 49 days. That's a very, very long time. Did you know that 49 days is the average amount of time in a person's life they have sex? That is a true fact. Apparently, actually, It's 49 days and 13 hours. Apparently,
which was probably fast approaching.
Yeah, I need to get out more.
Well, on that note, I'll let you get out. Yeah, I'll let you get away anyway. I massively appreciate you coming on. It's been a good chat, and as I said to you, all the best for Saturday.
Many thanks.
Thanks, mate. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.